G'day, this is Jim from Living Life Now. Thank you for joining me in part 2 of our overland excursion up to Machu Picchu. Now in part 1 we covered our transit to Cusco and our day in Cusco and on to our accommodation in the Sacred Valley. In this video I'll cover waking up in our accommodation at the Sacred Valley and our journey by rail before sharing with you our guided tour through Machu Picchu. Alright, so let's get into it. The day started with a hearty breakfast down in the dining room, and what a breakfast it was. The surroundings were beautiful, there was a chap there playing the harp, and the variety of food just seemed to be endless. After a wonderful breakfast, we decided to walk around the grounds. From our room last night, we could hear what we thought was a water fountain. But to our surprise, at the back of the property runs the river. And the hotel grounds, nestled in the middle of the Sacred Valley, are just stunning. We took our time and we wandered all the way around the gardens and sat in places and just admired the lovely environment. The Tambo del Inca is absolutely amazing, luxurious hotel. It has 128 rooms and opened in 2010. I highly recommend this place if you're looking to treat yourself. Now the tour group was to meet at 10 o'clock, which gave us ample time in the morning to enjoy this hotel. So right on time, the guides were there to greet us and escort us to our buses and our friendly drivers. But again, there's never a dull journey. And we passed these little pods right in the middle of cliffs where apparently they're hotels for climbers. We also passed Sherpas drying out their gear that carry the packs for the people doing the 4-day hike into Machu Picchu. Anyway, it wasn't long before we arrived at the train station. And this is where the sensory overload begins. Now there's Andean music and dancers, all in their traditional outfits. And everywhere you look, there's colour and movement going on. So as we waited for our train, we just took all this in, and in the distance you can see the snow-capped Andes, and it's absolutely buzzing. The excitement in the air is through the roof. We waved the train before us off, and our train was next to load in the platform. Now the rail company to take us up there was different than the rail company that brought us back, so we went up there on Inca Rail. As we boarded, the attendants greeted us with warm smiles, and you could hear the music playing in the background. And as you entered the carriage, you immediately noticed the 360-degree views and the panoramic windows, designed to make the train trip a moving postcard. This was truly a luxurious experience. A 3-course meal was served, white tablecloths, and an open bar. The best side of the train to be on is the left side of the train. We were on the right side of the train, but it wasn't an issue for us because the observatory carriage was literally 4 meters away. Now Inca Rail have this observatory carriage where they have some performance sitting in there, a 2-piece band, and it's an open carriage that gives you uninterrupted views out to the ever-changing landscape. Yeah, you move through steep cliffs and winding rivers, and within the hour-and-a-half journey, the landscape just continually changes. You pass through small Andean villages with adobe houses, fields of canola. You pass through fertile farmland, ancient terraces, and the vegetation slowly changes. It gradually changes from the drier highland valleys into a almost lush subtropical greenery as you descend towards Machu Picchu cloud forest. As we get closer, the musicians ramp up the energy, pull out the caracas and the tambourines, and everyone's singing and dancing away. The train continually bends around corners as it follows the river on your left-hand side. And to this point in my life, this is the best train trip I've ever been on and will not be quickly forgotten. But like all journeys, it must come to an end, and we slowly pulled into Machu Picchu station. At this stage, my eyes are like saucers, just taking in everything I can. Our guide rounds us up and escorts us through the markets to meet a bus to complete the final part of the journey. The final part of the journey that everyone must take was to hop on a 20-seater bus. Luckily, the bus drivers are very experienced driving these routes, as it winds back on itself as it climbs up the mountain. And when buses are coming back the other way, there's not a lot of room on that road, and it's a pretty steep drop down off that side of that road. But anyway, it's all part of the journey, and we made it up there safely. Now the good thing about being on a 6-star experience like we were on, there was a lineup that other tours were in. But we were all crowded into one group, we passed our tickets and documents, and we were fast-tracked into the site. Now we got back into our groups of 12, we got our headsets in, and finally started the walk into Machu Picchu. Now we walked through the main entrance gate and you immediately feel the excitement in the air. You take the stone path that leads you into one of the most breathtaking places on earth. We're finally here, Machu Picchu, the lost city of the Incas, abandoned for over 400 years and only revealed to the outside world in 1911. Now we begin with a gentle climb up towards the terraces and the guardhouse, and eagerly await the classic postcard view that opens up Machu Picchu stretching across the saddle of the mountain with Picchu towering like a green pyramid behind. Machu Picchu means old peak. The Incas built more than 200 buildings here, using massive stones fitted so precisely that you can't even fit a piece of paper between them, all without mortar. One by one, we made our way up the terrace slopes. Now, unfortunately, a person in our group started to immediately struggle with breath and felt a little anxious about the height and that there was no handrails or fall protection for that matter. And this is to be expected when you're in a group, more likely on a Princess Cruise excursion. But that's okay, you still have this magic view that you can just sit and look out while you're waiting. Now the terrace slopes weren't just for farming, but they also prevented landslides. Ingenious Inca drainage systems still keep that mountain stable today. The foundations of this place were truly meant to last. Unfortunately, our ticket didn't allow us to go to Circuit 1, which takes you right up to the premium lookout posts. But given the agility of the group, that probably wasn't a bad thing. After getting picture after picture after picture of the amazing view from the terraces, we made our way down into the heart of the city, taking Circuit 2. Our guide explained the Temple of the Sun, and this was built in a perfect curve of stone, aligning to catch the solstice sunrise. And wouldn't it be a marvel to be there for that? We were shown the royal residence, believed to house the Emperor Pachacuti when he visited. We were given great detail on the central plaza that was once a great gathering place for rituals and community life. They had their quarries on site and they hauled the rocks up from those quarries. The Incas believed carving and fitting stones was a sacred duty. Each rock had a life. Along the path is llamas and alpacas, and they wander freely, munching grass between the stones. They are residents here, as they always have been, and they're also natural lawnmowers, keeping the terraces trimmed. We're explained all about the houses there and how they used to live. We passed the sacred rock, shaped like the mountain behind it. And it's another reminder of how Incas lived in harmony with nature. Every structure, every stone has meaning. Machu Picchu actually sits lower than Cusco, with Cusco coming in at 3,400 metres and Machu Picchu at 2,400, roughly. But Machu Picchu just isn't about the ruins, it's really about the genius of the Incas, their connection to the cosmos, and the way that this place still whispers stories of a civilization that thrived in harmony with nature. And to achieve such a thing, it must have truly been an amazing community. Anyway, we continued our descent, and our 2 hours at Machu Picchu kind of seemed to go in a blink of an eye. But don't worry, there's thousands of pictures to capture every blink. After 2 hours of exploring the incredible citadel of Machu Picchu, it's time to begin the journey back. Walking through the main gates feels a little bittersweet. You still have a sense of awe lingering, but there's also a quiet satisfaction that knowing you stood in one of the world's great wonders. We get outside the entrance and our coordinator Marissa guides us to a line for the buses. These green coaches zigzag their way back down the mountain, taking 25 minutes to hit the small village of Aguascalientes, which is the small town nestled along the Urubamba River below. Through the window you get views of the spectacular dense jungle, the plunging valleys, and you're still in awe of being in such an amazing place. We arrived back in town. We were guided through the markets again, where Linda and I slid off and did about 10 minutes of shopping, before we got a message over our headsets to rejoin the group. This time we took Peru Rail back to the Sacred Valley. Although the train was still luxurious, there was no 3-course meal this time. Instead, we were given dinner packs and offered drinks from the bar at a price. Now, we were still on a high, but it was time to sit back and reflect. The sun was going down and it was getting dark, and there was less to see on the way back. We were invited up to the bar carriage, where they had performers putting on a bit of show, and one by one the carriages had their turn. Now, this was a highlight. Our adrenaline was already up, but once the music started, it went off like a firecracker. Everyone was given Panama hats, and the show started with a couple of dancers doing traditional dances. And these were lovely young people. At the end of their dance, their two hands went out to each person to welcome them to stand up and boogie down with them. These guys were hard to resist, and everyone jumped up. I heard one woman say that she hadn't seen her husband dance for 40 years. But in this environment, at the end of such an amazing day, I think a dance is what we all needed. So we twisted and boogied and macaroned as the train wove its way down the valley. And I said earlier in this video that the train up was the best train trip I'd ever had, but the train back was very close second as well. So after a drink, something to eat and a bit of a dance, we just sat back with huge smiles on our faces. We were truly fortunate to experience such a journey, and when the train passed with the locals in it, it was a reminder of how fortunate we truly are. That is quite often forgotten in a privileged life. Anyway, after an hour and a half, this magical journey came to an end, and we departed the train back to our smiling drivers and our waiting vans to take us back to the hotel. Now, we got back to the hotel sometime after 7, and another 3-course meal was waiting for us 30 minutes later. Linda and I decided to skip dinner as we ate on the train and decided to seek the refuge of our room to get ready for an early morning the next day. Now, when I say an early morning the next day, it was early. Alarm set for 3 o'clock in the morning. Bags had to be outside the room by 3:15. Breakfast was at 3:30, and our vans and drivers were waiting for us to take us to the airport at 4 a.m. It was a silent and dark trip to the airport, but the hour and a half drive went fairly quickly with some little naps along the way. We didn't have to wait long at the airport. We were taken immediately to our gate and boarded our plane. And there were some delays on the runway as we waited for an allocated departure spot. They saw us sitting there for about 20 minutes. Now, this time I had a window seat and really enjoyed the takeoff through the valley and up above the clouds. It was fantastic to see Cusco from the air, but we were soon above the clouds and on our way to Lima. Once at Lima, we were transferred to larger coaches, and we were broken into groups of 24 for the coach trip home. Now, these were fairly large coaches, so nearly everyone had a double seat to themselves. Now, this was going to be a 4.5-hour drive. We were given lunch packs, and as usual, every detail was catered for by the tour operator. Now, at the halfway point on the way back, we stopped at the largest souvenir shop I'd ever seen. Now, it was an interesting trip back to see the changing landscape as we moved down to the beaches of Pisco and the sandy deserts. As we approached closer to the port, the simplicity of the desert provided some good photo opportunities as the colours danced with the light. Our journey ended back on the ship at 3 p.m. Now, if you're considering doing this trip, it doesn't appear to be flights from Lima to Pisco. So you must be aware that if you're meeting your cruise ship in Pisco, you will be on a long coach journey that final day. But after a busy 3 days, many took the opportunity to have a little nap. And the bus that we were in had ample leg room and was very comfortable. Now, costings. This was a 5-star experience, as I said at the beginning. And in roundhouse figures, it cost Linda and I about 10,000 Australian dollars. Now, this is a lot of money in anyone's language, but this was a luxurious 5-star experience. And I can't speak highly enough of the tour operator. They were engaged by Princess to carry out this tour on their behalf. They were professional, and everything went off without a hitch. We did have a Princess representative join us on the tour, but he did not engage with us at all. I would have expected the client representative running the tour contract to at least check in with each bus daily to get some customer feedback. Maybe Princess should consider more customer focus in this area. There was nothing identifying him as a princess representative. This was a bucket list adventure for us, and being such a hard destination to reach, we will never have such a convenient opportunity to visit this site again. I nearly forgot, but as promised, I'll take you through some of the souvenirs that we purchased in Cisco and Machu Picchu, and some of the costs involved in them. So we got this hoodie in Cisco. I think it was about 75 Australian, which I thought was a pretty good deal. And it's hard to get something for a male that's not over the top, because they love their colour. Got a couple of t-shirts for the boys, but they only came in at about $12 or $15 each Australian, so yeah, pretty good value. Peru Rail gave us some pisco sour mix, so we can go home and make some of that. I found a nice little shop. It was a quality shop, and I bought this hat. This hat cost me around about 38 Australian, but as I said, it's a quality hat. This hot hat cost me about $12 Australian, just from a shop. There was nothing wrong with that hat either, except it just didn't have the tuck in for the rhythm there. But yeah, for 12 bucks Australian, good hat. This was about 20 bucks, and just a pillowcase. I liked it, Linda liked it, so we brought it for a little baby friend of ours. So yeah, they're cute. So we shopped at both value shops and more high-end shops. The high-end shop, we bought our baby alpaca throw rug. We got the neutral colours. There's a lot in colours, but it did have the Inca patterns on, and we're pretty boring as far as colour goes. So that was about $140 Australian, but that's a quality rug there. This was a one-off art piece, and it cost us about 90 US, which is about 140, but it's from a renowned Peruvian artist. Yeah, it was tagged, and yeah, very happy for that. So we always buy something at a local artist that we can decorate our house with. Then we got a bowl, pretty good bowl. We just liked it, 100 bucks Australian. Good designs on the side, so probably 110 Australian, but we liked it. All right, so that's about it. That's about all our souvenirs. So we bought quite a lot, but the way we're probably not going to be back in Peru in a hurry, and we like the way they do their colours and their designs. So yeah, happy days. All right, that's about it for our Peruvian adventure. I hope you enjoyed it. We've just been sailing around Easter Island today, and we're on our way to Tahiti, and there'll be more clips to follow. So please follow along. If you enjoyed this, give it a thumbs up, and we'll catch you next time. Hooroo. Here we are, we've finally made it to Machu Picchu, and what a destination. Takes a bit to get here, rail journeys, buses, but in the end it's well and truly worth it. And the weather's been kind to us, and yeah, here we are.